Academic Excellence Award. The Academic Excellence Award is given to the graduating senior based on their cumulative grade point average. It represents the highest academic achievement in the graduating class. The recipient of the Academic Excellence Award for the B16 graduating class is Amanda Hooper. And we are honored to have Amanda as the class speaker.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. I feel so blessed to be speaking with you all today. This journey has been a long one, but at times I feel as though it has flown by, and I thought the best way to begin would be to give you all a small recap of our time together here in nursing school. But first, can we just all appreciate this moment where we are in the same room as our loved ones and our noses are not stuck in a book? As many of you all know, thanks to nursing school, our lives have consisted mainly of countless hours of reading, writing note cards, and ATI. Somewhere in the middle, we attempted to squeeze in time for eating, sleeping, and lots of praying. The day that we received our acceptance letters was the best day ever. But maybe I should say it's a close second to today. But I remember vividly peering through cracked blinds, stalking the mailman every chance I got. When the letter finally arrived, I was so nervous to open it, but once I did, I was on cloud 9. We are nursing students. We get to buy stethoscopes and wear what I thought would be really cool scrubs. Oh, sweet little innocent newbie nursing students we were. The reality really set in when we met as a class for the first time. And when I think back to that day, I wish we had a picture. I imagine all of us staring forward like deer in the headlights. How can an orientation day PowerPoint have 50 slides? However, the first couple of days were not too bad. We learned how to wash our hands, position patients, and even how to make a bed, which was something that I desperately needed help with, apparently. And let me also take this time to emphasize the fact that we had the best fundamentals instructors. Seriously, I'm convinced that they are angels sent straight from heaven above to gently usher us into the world of nursing. And don't get me wrong, all of our instructors are amazing at what they do, and we would not be here today if it was not for every single one of them. So now that they know we love them, let's talk about those reading assignments. I guesstimated that if we would have read every single page assigned, it would have been somewhere around 8,000 pages total. Not to mention the fact that we had to carry books that weighed more than most preschoolers to class every day. And I sometimes think that that was an undercover mission to strengthen our backs for turning patients all day long at clinical, so very clever. Speaking of clinical, let's talk about that first big clinical day. You know, the super special day in every nursing student's life where if you didn't take a selfie, it didn't happen. It was our first time dealing with loose bowels, sweat, nausea, vomiting, and difficulty breathing, and that was just us before we even went into the building. We all experienced a lot of firsts in clinical. The first time you noticed a stain on your scrubs and you couldn't tell where it came from or what it was. The first time you stabbed someone with a 1.5-inch needle. The first time you had to describe urine as foul smelling. The first time feeling like you really made a difference in a patient's life. All of these firsts were mere stepping stones along the path of our nursing expedition. And somewhere in the midst of all of that, we still had to find time to study for exams. Our very first nursing exam. Cue the anxiety, coupled with tachycardia, tachypnea, and diaphoresis. And for those that need that decoded, we were all suffering from rapid heart rates, rapid breathing, and sweating. To make exams even more anxiety-provoking, word on the street was that all the answers were right, but only one was the most right. And let's not forget to mention the dreaded select all that apply questions. It never fails when we get to one on an exam, we all scoot closer to the computer monitors if the font was 10 sizes too small and written in a completely different language. But at least now as we are graduating, we know that the answer is always either airway, potassium, or hand hygiene. Despite the newfound anxiety of adjusting to nursing school exams, our first semester centered around how to assess our patients. And boy, did we sound super smart while we were practicing. For example, extraocular movement smooth and symmetric bilaterally, known as nystagmus noted, pupils equal round reactive flight, cranial nerves 2 through 12 intact. Super smart, right? It sounds like a completely different language. I should also take this time to thank all of you who so willingly became our test subjects as we were practicing head-to-toe assessments. But I will say that the willingness to be so helpful ran out as soon as we began practicing sterile procedures like urinary catheter insertion. During this time, we were also studying pharmacology, and although we couldn't fully explain every medication classification and side effect, we could tell you that we needed a Zofran for nausea after every pharm exam, especially our final. Moving on up to our very first med-surg class, which brought on an entirely different form of nervousness. Not only did we move to the main campus with the big dogs, but we had our very first clinical rotation in the hospital, and we quickly realized that the assigned reading and fundamentals was not so bad after all. Soon after that came the fun stuff, learning about IVs. We were all so eager to stick each other, some more so than others. Dania. I remember being in public, nudging friends saying, hey, check out the veins on that one. Fast forward through our first 3 med-surg classes, many Red Bulls and sleepless nights later, and there we are, our very first day in mental health, where we almost immediately began diagnosing ourselves. And don't worry, we may have diagnosed a couple of you all as well. And as if things could not get more confusing, after that, they decided to add a baby. Although I do have to admit that I was very excited to be in Mom Baby. I mean, what else is there to know? I grew a human once, this will be easy. But then came the body parts that some of us did not know we had, like a fundus. I had never heard of that one. And although it was fun to imagine some of us, especially the guys, witnessing their very first delivery, and even though we were all shaking in our white, non-porous shoes, it was one of the most rewarding things to witness life being brought into the world. Next up was pediatrics, where we quickly realized that we knew absolutely nothing about tiny humans, even if we had a tiny human of our own. Then, after just enough time to forget all about our med-surg classes, we found ourselves in med-surg 4, aka critical care, where most of the modules began with the word complex, and we were no longer going to get by with our black and white thinking. We were challenged to utilize our critical thinking skills to think of the body not just in terms of systems, but as one beautifully synchronized process. And I'm not gonna lie, it was difficult. But despite the fact that we were all at risk for falls, secondary to lack of sleep, we survived and passed. That meant that we were in our very last class of nursing school. And boy, did the senioritis hit us hard. We were justifying our procrastination with more conviction than a preacher on Sunday morning. Somehow, we managed to pull it together and make it to practicum, where we realized quickly that we were not in Kansas anymore. No instructor, no classmates, no familiar faces of any kind except your own if you're lucky enough to find time to go to the bathroom. Throughout our time in this program, we have all transformed into nurses. We have been led by extraordinary leaders who have laid the foundation for our nursing careers to build upon. We were taught to find the leader within ourselves, to motivate one another, to walk with determination, and to practice our profession with competence and integrity. Success in this program could not have been possible without the help of family, friends, and the many encouragers who have been with us throughout every step of the way. Our closest support systems might as well have ridden the roller coaster of emotions that is nursing school right along with us. Whether we were crying because we failed our first test or crying because we gained 5 pounds according to the bathroom scale, you guys supported us. It is impossible to put into words a thank you that would be sufficient enough to truly show our appreciation. But I personally have to thank my family. To my amazing other half, Hope, you did so much more than support me. You made it all possible. I could not have done this without you. To my sweet and spicy daughter, Veda, my motivation, you are the reason I'm standing here today. And I remember looking down at your chubby 9-month-old cheeks as I was debating on applying to the program. But I wanted the best, even if that meant sacrificing more than I would like to admit. To my mom and dad, you have always supported me in more ways than I can count, and this journey was no exception. Thank you for always reminding me to look outside of myself and focus on the bigger picture. To my sister, Kim, my non-nursing companion, I don't know what I would have done without your guidance and encouragement. And finally, to my rock star grandparents, and awesome brother Colby. Words cannot begin to express my gratitude for all that you have done to make my dream a reality. Now, I would like to speak on behalf of all of my classmates and myself and thank all of our amazing instructors for the time and effort you put into making and molding us into amazing nurses. Thank you for never giving up on us, letting us cry in your office, giving us chocolate, and always empowering us to give it our all. And finally, to my fellow classmates, or should I say second family, while mostly everything I have heard about nursing school was true, from how quickly diet and exercise falls to the bottom of the priority list, to how we would be self-diagnosing every mole and rash we would get, I was not prepared for the lifelong friendships I would gain. And I'm so thankful for each of you. We have learned from one another, inspired one another, and passionately disagreed like only families do. I have no doubt that each of us will make a tremendous difference in the lives of those we are called to serve. I wish each of you success and happiness in your nursing journey. Now let's go past NCLEX.